Hello and welcome to the channel. Last week I didn't manage to make a YouTube video because I was feeling very ill. But now we're back at it, and in this video I'm going to break down the US30 stock index and share with you my plans to trade this over the coming week. Now before we jump into the video, I have a free trading course that you can sign up to. There's 13 videos teaching 10 different topics, and it's going to show you why you're not winning at the moment and how you can turn those results around. So head over to the link in the description and join that now. Now let's jump over to the charts. So what you can see here is the US30 stock index, and this is the 4-hour time frame. Now as you can see, the US30 has been in a decent uptrend since the DXY started falling off in October this year. So lesson number 1 of this video, the dollar index and the US30 have a cross correlation. Now when the stock market is doing well, money is moving there and moving out of fiat currency. So the dollar index will generally fall in a time where the stock index is doing incredibly well. On the flip side, if the dollar is doing really well, money will flow out of stocks, equities that are losing value, and move into the dollar. So the stock indexes actually start to fall. So we have a cross correlation that's quite visible pretty much all the time, that when the US30 or the Nasdaq or anything like that is going up, the dollar index will generally go down. And when the dollar index is going up, the stock indexes will generally go down. So that's just a quick little lesson thrown in there. And we've seen that happening, right? The dollar index started to fall at the start of October. And we can see here from the start of October, the US30 has been bullish. Now, on the 4-hour time frame, we can see the clear uptrend coming into play. And this has actually started to slow down now. But if we look, really, we haven't had a major break of structure yet. So looking at this current range then from the top where the momentum really slowed down, we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, and now we've seen a lower low. So this is the kind of first shift into bearish structure. But we haven't really broken into any major ranges yet. And I actually think that the US30 is going to go higher before it goes lower, and I'll cover that in a moment. But for now, give me one moment and I will mark this up, and then we'll come back when it's all analyzed. Okay, so we are now back on the US30, and I've marked out some points of analysis. So let me break this down. Now, first of all, you can see the break of structure. This is where the previous higher low in this bullish trend, the final higher low in the bullish trend, has broken. So then we have this new lower low area here. And as you can see, marked under the lower low area, we have this line of liquidity. What this indicates is a point where the market is using as support. Generally, when we get a point like this, we are going to see that taken out, meaning price will come through and trade through these lows. And what I've actually added into that as well is if we look over here in the left, if we look over here on the lower time frames, we can see that we have an imbalanced demand zone, being this area here. The imbalance is this open space beneath these two equal lows. And basically what this acts as is a bit of a magnet point for price to pull into. What we've got, if we go back to the full picture view, is going to be the first sign of a change in trend at this point here with this break of structure, a floor which needs to be taken out of these 3 relative equal lows or trend lows. And then we have the imbalance into the refined extreme demand as a kind of magnet point to draw price into once price takes this liquidity. Now, if we then look at the momentum of the market, if we start up at this high, we had this equal high area, liquidation, pull down, break of structure, pull down, pull back up, slow consolidation, pull down, slow consolidation, pull down, slow consolidation, pull back up to fill the supply area here, trade into this kind of high area, fill that imbalance there, trade into supply, and then pull down once again. Now this pull down is interesting to me because there is a lot of weakness behind this. You can see that the market is actually pushing with quite a lot of weakness against these lows. So I don't really anticipate this demand holding up. And basically what this momentum shows on all these downside movements versus the slow momentum on the upside movements is that the sellers are in control. There is more selling happening than buying. And that is actually showing that the market is going to continue down with the momentum and shouldn't really hold any new demand or, flip back to the upside until it hits a major area of demand where there's a lot of buying waiting to happen. And I would say the next point for that is going to be this extreme refined demand down in the low. So what am I actually expecting to do with US30 then? Well, based on the current structure, I think that this is going to sell off, and that's going to lead me into my first idea of the week, which will be a sell. Now you can see I've marked this whole supply range at the top of this current move. I think the weakness with pushing into this low, it's pretty much a given that we should go through that. Hopefully that ages well. But generally, market experience tells me we've pushed so hard against these lows, the chances of us reacting from demand and pushing all the way back up from this point without at least liquidating is quite slim. So what I'll be looking for as my first trade of the week is going to be a pull into this area here, where we would then look to sell it down into the refined 15-minute demand zone that we marked out a minute ago. So that would be trade number 1. If we can get a pullback, we can look to sell, and the sell could bring us down towards that refined demand area. Now, trade number 2 would then be a buy idea, because overall, if you remember, I did talk about that refined area that we have in the high. Now let's go to the daily real quick and talk about why I would like to buy this pair. What we can see over here on the left is this big daily supply zone. You can see I've also marked a zone in the high of that. And if we go to the 4-hour time frame, you'll see why I also marked that out, because there is a refined 4-hour supply sitting in this high. Now, one thing I would also like to add is just going to be a quick horizontal ray to put in that area. And basically this area from this line to this line is the prime point of reversal for me. So for US30, I am expecting this to sell off, and I'll break down why in a moment, but this larger range is now redundant. It's going to be somewhere between this line and this line at the top, of which I would like to see the market trade into before selling off. So trade number 2 would be, with confirmation, a buy from this area if we got the right confirmation pattern. And for those who don't watch my channel often, or those who need a refresher, what is that confirmation pattern I'm talking about? The confirmation pattern I'm talking about is going to be something a little bit like this. So we're going to look for essentially exactly what we've seen here, but flipped on its head. We want to see a lower low, lower high, lower low, trading into this demand. And then we want to see bullish pressure coming in at the demand and breaking us into higher highs. If we get that, we will then look for a pullback down to then buy from demand. And then we can lead that up into a new trend to take us from this area all the way up towards this supply here. And that is the general idea. Now, keep in mind, the market could just totally take out this low, and the buys would stay valid from this demand as well. This is a larger, refined, and balanced demand. Don't know if the dollar index has got enough strength to the upside to actually bring the US30 all the way down here, but we will just have to see how far the dollar wants to push this week. If we do pull all the way down there, the same standard applies. It will be a confirmation entry from this point instead to bring us up. So remember, there are a couple points. We don't have to just have one exact bias and go with that. We want to have multiple ideas, logical ideas, and then roll with whatever happens in a reactive manner rather than a predictive manner, okay? So we do a kind of prediction in a sense. We forecast where the market could go, and then our job is to just react with that. So we've got 2 buy areas, this one here and this one here, and these will be the kind of points where I would like to see those extended buys up to trade us into that 4-hour refined supply that we just mentioned. So let's go and talk about that, and I'll show you why I'm interested in this area and why I think the market can reverse when we get there. All right, so what I've just done here is mark on the supply zones from the very high, the I think all-time high of the US30. And this was in January 2022. We formed this high, then we had a sell-off, break of structure under this low, pullback, retest supply, sell-off, form new supply, big sell-off, pullback, fill supply, big sell-off, pullback, fill supply, big sell-off, pullback, failed to fill supply, you can see. So basically what we call this is efficient market structure, because every zone has been retested after making a new lower low in the trend. Now, inefficient market structure is when we have an open zone that has not been retested. And as you can see here, we have an open area, this pushed down, which has not yet been retested, okay? And that is going to be the inefficiency or the imbalance. So when I see this, I generally like to see these filled. And one thing I really like about the structure here is that we've had selling traps, okay? We've had this area here, which looked like a supply, and people were probably looking to sell when price came into, resistance here. This obviously was liquidated, taken out. People would have lost their sells before the market tanked. So there was a liquidation over at this point here. And then as you can see, we formed the next, what seemed to be high in the market. And once again, we have now come in to liquidate. So now we've had a sell trap here, sellers liquidated, sell trap here, sellers liquidated. Now the market is selling off. People are probably likely to get back in on sells, and they're probably, once again, leading into the inefficiency, going to be liquidated. That's the general theory behind the setup, and what I'd be interested in seeing on US30 is going to be that pull down, push up, liquidate, trade into this supply area. And if you remember, I'm looking for the top half of the range to be filled. And then from there, I'll be looking for the big sell to come in, which could take us back down into the lows to trade towards this year's lows, which were in October. So the kind of move that we've seen here has been a bit of a liquidation, okay? We've seen liquidation of this high. We're pulling back down, probably enticing sellers again. Then we may once again get a liquidation of the high, trade into supply, fill the imbalance, make this full range efficient, and then get the big sell to take us down into the previous lows and continue the trend downward. And that is going to be trade number 3, the big sell down. And I think this one could be approached with sell limits for sure. I'm looking at that 4-hour supply with sell limits. The risk reward is so good from there. It's insanely good. So yeah, that's definitely something I'll keep under watch, and we'll see how that goes into next year. But that is my plan for US30. We have this week starting off with some potential sells. If those sales come through, we will take profits at demand, and if we get the confirmation, we will buy from there. If we don't and we break down, we will continue downward until we hit that next demand we spoke about on the 4-hour time frame, and then we will look for the confirmation from the next major demand and buy from there. So we can look for sells, then we definitely want to see confirmation on the buys, and then on the big sales that we've just marked up here, these could probably be approached with a sell limit quite safely because the risk reward is so damn solid and the actual premise of the trade is quite a high probability one. So that is my most recent take on the US 30. Hopefully this works out and hopefully this ages well. Let's see what we get, see if we get any nice trades. I am going to be on a Christmas wind down, slowing it down, and I'll do a YouTube video on that soon as well, and how you should spend the rest of your year preparing for 2023. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, do drop a like. That's going to help my channel to grow, and make sure you subscribe because I post these videos every week. And I also throw down 1 or 2 education videos a week as well. So there's so much to learn from my channel. Make sure you are subscribed. Make sure your notifications are on. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.